Welcome back to the Toffee Blues, your source for all things Everton. This is the player ratings video for Everton's 2-2 draw away at Nottingham Forest. I'll be honest, I purposely pushed back recording this until a bit later in the afternoon to maybe avoid some knee-jerk reactions. And if anything, the Liverpool score has made things a bit worse on that front. But enough about them, obviously. Don't really want to get into that one. But in terms of Everton, I think we all realised just how big this game was today. You know, Nottingham Forest are, I've had quite a good season, to be fair. Maybe not, I haven't been struggling quite as much as most people would have predicted at the start of the season. Obviously, a lot of new faces coming in. People thought it might take a bit of time for them to gel, but regardless, I still want one of the weaker sides that we have left in this run of games we have towards the end of the season, in which we have to basically get enough points to stay up. And I think a lot of people are eyeing Nottingham Forest this match as one of those games that we really need to try and get 3 points for, despite the fact that, you know, before this game, and obviously still going on, they haven't lost a game at the City Ground since October. So yeah, despite all that, and despite the fact that, you know, they have been in pretty decent form regardless lately, and much higher than us in the table, a lot of people are, I guess, disappointed we didn't win. And I am as well, to an extent, I think, based on the fact that we went ahead twice and were leading for such a large portion of the game, and that maybe with better decisions and maybe a bit more bravery, I guess, we could have maybe seen that game off when we were 2-1 ahead. You know, we had this period in the second half where we were probably still the side on top and going forward a bit more and causing them issues, and just weren't really pushing as much as we were when we were level or like in the first half, and the two occasions where we did get a goal. So yeah, that is probably the biggest frustration for me. I think the fact as well that both our goals again came from set pieces, which is something under Dyche we've become a lot more prolific from, but it's still obviously not from open play, which is still a bit of a concern. But regardless, things looked a bit more different today. I think Gray going forwards, Gray up front is the answer going forward now. And but yeah, just getting into the player rating in each individual player on an individual basis. I think starting in goal with Pickford, you know, he didn't really have too much to do. Obviously, Nottingham Forest scored twice. I don't think there's anything more we can do for either goal. You know, some maybe argue that for the first goal, the initial shot, he maybe could have saved behind. I guess I think that's quite harsh. I think the fault for that goal had already happened long before Pickford made that save. We were really caught out, and our defence kind of got dragged all over the place, really. And Forest just played right through us. And then, of course, Godfrey loses Johnson, and he scores the rebound, which Pickford nearly saves as well. It's just that frustration there. Only criticism I have of Pickford is that it seems to be the case every team we play at the moment. The team seems to recognise that, you know, he's kind of got this bit of reputation for losing his head, like if the crowd really get on his back, which I think is quite an outdated thing, really. But today it crept back in again. It was a feisty game all round, really. You know, it boiled over at quite a few points, and tempers were flaring. And I imagine it's going to be another one that the FA look at and that Everton get a massive fine from again, because we've got this horrible reputation at the moment as causing trouble. It's happened in games against Leeds and Liverpool recently. So that's a frustration. But back to Pickford, and I think it just has to be a routine 6, really. I think, you know, didn't have too much to do. And like I said, wasn't at fault for either goal. But at the same time, there was a few times where his goal kicks were a bit askew with like the fans doing the jeering and that, and I don't know. It just seemed a bit. He's usually so composed now. You know, we've seen him mature over the years. You know, back in the day when he first joined us, and he was a bit hot-headed. You know, particularly against Newcastle, of course. But that doesn't seem to be the case much more anymore. And yet it kind of crept back in a bit today. I'm not entirely sure why, but yeah. So that's a 6 for Pickford. And then similarly for Seamus Coleman, I think he also gets a 6. He looks really up for it. Again, like I say, I think this is a game that probably the players recognise as well is a really good opportunity for, if we really go for it, just to get 3 points on the board and get confidence back up after obviously two defeats in the week just gone. So yeah, Coleman again was another one who looked really up for it and bombing forward a lot, offering a lot of support. A lot of our attacks today went through the right, with Iwobi and even McNeil, despite the fact he was playing at left wing, drifting over, Gray drifting over as well, of course. Really seemed to be focusing down that right side, and Coleman played a part in that. So yeah, I thought that was a really good performance from him. And then Michael Keane and Tarkowski, I'm kind of just going to do together, really. I think both get sixes because it's one of those games where, like, if you don't notice either of them too much, it probably suggests they've had a solid game as opposed to either a really good game or a really bad game. Keane in particular, just when he has a good game, he just seems to you don't even seem to really notice what he does. He just does his job quietly, just gets on with it really. And I think that was another one of those today. And I think maybe it's crazy. Obviously, everyone kind of saw it maybe with Dyche coming back in, having worked with him previously at Burnley, that he might get another chance to prove himself. And so far, maybe we're starting to see the Ancelotti King come back for now, but obviously time will tell. And then Tarkowski's similar case, really. Could maybe do better for the second goal. I think sometimes him and Cody both kind of used to do it where sometimes they rely a bit too much on trying to block the shot rather than getting in the way of the initial pass or closing down or anything like that. And I don't know, he just seemed a bit caught out there for a second. But maybe I'm being a bit too harsh. Like I said, I'm still only going to give him a 6. And then Ben Godfrey at left back. Obviously in for Mikalenko today, who illness. It was out due to illness, I should say. And obviously he's had his critics of late, Mikalenko. But not to get on, some of our fans' backs too much, but it is kind of maybe a case of be careful what you wish for, isn't it? Mikalenko, especially when we're ahead for large portions like we were today, I think I'd rather have Mikalenko there than Godfrey. Honestly, I think defensively Mikalenko is actually very solid and very astute, and I can't describe Godfrey in that same way today at all. Whether it was rushiness, having been out of the side for quite a bit, and obviously having that injury that he maybe still hasn't really had time to recover from, that major injury, and not having played enough games really to build that sharpness up since then, played a part. But he was getting caught out of position a lot, making a lot of bad decisions. And I think that played a part in why so much of our attacks were going down the right, in that every time it went through the left and it went through Godfrey, just, I don't know, he just seemed to give it away a lot. He got better, don't get me wrong. First, 20 minutes or so, he had a horror show. And like I touched on before, I'd say it was completely at fault for the first goal. Should be keeping track of Johnson better than he does when the ball is obviously parried by Pickford into his path. So that was frustration. There was just loads of just silly decisions and mistakes. And as I say, he got better as the game progressed, which I hope means it was down to rustiness. But yeah, I think there was a large part of it, I think, that with Mikalenko on that side, we go on and win that game. So that's a frustration. He gets a 4, maybe a bit too harsh. I don't know. Leave your thoughts in the comments below if you think I'm being a bit too harsh on Godfrey. I know he's quite a bit of a fan favourite. And then Idrissa Gueye, again, I don't know what is up with him at the moment. Obviously, had a horror show against Arsenal, particularly for their second goal, where God knows what he was doing, but was hooked at half time, of course. And I don't know, there's something about him at the moment. And we used to see it a bit in his first spell here, in that sometimes the passing is just so off, and he just had no composure on the ball, really. And I think with the way Forest were playing at times, really pressuring us hard and just not giving us a second to think, it was a type of game that really didn't suit Idrissa Gueye, and I think it caught us out at times. And I'm gonna have to give him a 5 again. I saw some people saying he was a lot better today. I didn't really see it. I think he should have got booked as well at one point, and that wasn't given in the end. But regardless, it's just silly things like that. Just giving away silly fouls at times as well. And yeah, I don't know. There's a school of thought to be had, I think, for maybe dropping him. Maybe, obviously it would have to be a case of Gray moving out to the right and maybe putting Iwobi back in the middle where he's obviously more effective. But I don't know. When Gueye is playing well, he's vital to us. And when he's playing badly, we seem to suffer quite a bit as a result of that. He's one of those sort of players, so hopefully he can rekindle some of that form as soon as possible, really. And then speaking of Iwobi, I'm going to give him a 6 as well. And as I just touched on there as well, much better centrally. Still, sometimes when he's out wide, he's just not quite as effective. But there were times where, like I said, with McNeil pushing out to the right and Gray as well, of course, playing up front, it allowed Iwobi to maybe drift inwards a bit more. And he's just so much more effective when he's in the centre of the park. It's I'm not entirely sure why it's such day and night difference, but I don't know. There is a large part of me that thinks we really need to try and get the best out of Iwobi if we're going to get out of this, and that does involve playing him in the middle, and but whoever that is that needs to be sacrificed in this formation for that to be the case, I don't know, but I really do think that is maybe something that should be prioritised. That should try and look to do. Of course, as well, Iwobi ran his socks off yet again today. I mean, played 3 times this week and basically been another present for us all season. Absolutely knackered, had to be brought off, and can never say Iwobi doesn't give his all for us at the moment. And while he may not have had his best game and hasn't really hit the ground running under Deitch yet, just contrasting to just how much we saw him flourish when Lampard came in. But I'm sure his time will come, and I'm sure if we are going to stay up, he'll play a very big part in us making that happen. And it's a similar story with Onana as well, really. Obviously, he was in really good form at the start of the year, and then Deitch's first game against Arsenal, he's just mesmerising. And that's the bit that confuses me. I'm not entirely sure what's really happened to him of late, because well, specifically against Arsenal, he just was everywhere. You couldn't help but notice just how well he was playing. Whereas now, I wouldn't exactly say he's playing badly. He's just not having that impact in the team as much as he did against Arsenal or in the games in January where he was really in top form. And I'm not entirely sure what it is. I don't know if it's like some sort of confidence knock he might have had where he's maybe not trying as much stuff as he used to do. And I still can't fault him for effort, when there was times where Forest were hitting us on the break and you could see Onana was one of the few who was proper bombing it back, trying to make it up. But yeah, I think he just a 6 really. Average game, didn't play bad, he didn't do anything wrong. Just he's probably our best player quality wise, I'd say at the moment, maybe, especially outfield. You look at maybe Pickford's overall, but out on that pitch, you'd say Onana's definitely one of our most effective players. And if he's having a quiet game, you kind of lack that X factor that can turn these draws into wins. So that was a bit frustrating to see, I guess. But I'm not going to be too harsh on him. Still love the lad, and I'm sure again, similar to Iwobi, he'll be turning things around as soon as possible. And then similarly, another person you can't criticise the effort of whatsoever, Abdoulaye Doucoure, brilliant game, absolutely just ran his socks off, didn't he? And again, another man that's just really transformed under Deitch, and obviously gets a goal as well, his first goal under Deitch, first goal of the season. Obviously Betty played under Lampard, but and yeah, really well taken, great movement, great anticipation of where the head is going to go. And he's not the best of headers in the world. Forest fans are probably quite unhappy with Navas not saving it, but we don't care, and Doucoure will care even less. And then, of course, it's so typical. He has, he's probably had his best game in an Everton shirt since maybe like the early days of Benitez, where he started last season really well. Probably go all the way back then to last time he played this well, and then makes a silly mistake, stupid, lazy pass. I think is the only way you can really describe it. And Forest get their equaliser in the second half. So it's so frustrating because I think apart from that, he'd probably, he'd get like an 8 or something really high like that. And I think after that, I'm still going to have to give him a 7 just because of how well he played apart from that. But, if you're at fault for, the deciding goal really and what stops it being a win for us, then you can't really get as high as an 8. So yeah, a 7 for Doucoure and another 7 as well for Dwight McNeil, who, again, man transformed under Deitch. Obviously, there was quite a bit of expectation on that potentially happening. Again, another one that Deitch had during his time at Burnley. But he's just so much more effective in this system, isn't he? And being put out on the left, Lampard was really trying to play him on that right and cutting in, and he just couldn't do it because I think if you're that sort of player where you're playing on your weak side, I guess, where you have to cut in. It gets too predictable if you can't use your weaker foot, and we all know McNeil basically doesn't have a right foot, but he's he's making up for that fact at the moment, isn't he? He's just absolutely brilliant. He's absolutely all over the place, and just always seems to be involved in everything we do going forward now, and it's just mental to see compared to the player we saw under Lampard. And obviously had a really good shot in the first half as well, where just for a second you thought, oh my word, he's got an absolute pearler here. Navas tips it over, of course. But like I said, his impact on the game is just crazy. And I really hope these assists start coming soon as well, because he's the best crosser in the team, isn't he? Let's face it, by a mile. And obviously, he's on our corners as well, of course. Already got an assist from them in Dyche's first game, of course, but more open play crosses. If obviously we don't really have many players who can win headers and get on the end of crosses in the team, frustratingly at the moment. But regardless, still having such a great impact on the team. And like I say, it's great to see just how much he's turned it around since Dyche came in. And then finally, Demarai Gray, I touched on it at the start. I think he's got to be the answer going forward now, as in playing as our striker option ahead of Mopé, ahead of Sims, until if Calvert-Lewin returns and actually has a few games in the side. So yeah, barring that happening, I think it's got to be Gray going forward. Just offers us more, doesn't he? Than a Mopé who doesn't really seem to offer us anything. Let's be honest. And then obviously Sims has got the aerial advantage, but just doesn't quite have that composure or that Premier League quality really that you need to make stuff happen. So we've all said it, and I think today proved it, despite the fact that he still wasn't completely at the races. I thought maybe a bit of rustiness from not starting week in and week out, but still offered just so much more than Mopé has these last few matches. Just so much more, and obviously gets a goal as well, of course, scoring the penalty, which McNeil won. I should have touched on that when I went through his rating. Did really well to win that, and yeah, just I think it's only a 6 for Gray. Maybe could have had a bit more impact on the game, and I actually thought in the first half he was maybe a bit too keen to impress, I guess. I remember there was one time he gave away a foul that he really didn't need to, and he was running about trying to press at times where maybe he shouldn't have, or in the areas perhaps where he shouldn't have, getting dragged out wide. In which case it meant that if someone else won the ball for us, he wasn't in the right position to get on the end of a through pass or something like that. So I think with a bit more training and, hopefully Dyche does persist with him up front now, and we don't see Mopé come back in against Brentford next week. Hopefully with a bit more training and getting more used to playing in an unfamiliar role, he can be the answer for us, and get a few more goals under his belt. So yeah, I'm not going to go for the subs as ever. I never usually go for the subs because obviously, we only had 2 come on, Davis and my word, who was it? It's really bad. That's what I mean. This is why I don't do subs, because especially with how late both of them came on. Just maybe it was Mopé, wasn't it? Yeah, and I think you can probably gather my thoughts on Mopé through here anyway. So yeah, didn't have time to have much of, if any, impact on the game. So not going to go through them, but yeah, I think that pretty much sums it up. And yeah, let's just it makes a win against Brentford even more important now, doesn't it? Obviously, every game towards the end of the season now is going to be vital. Like I said at the start, we just need to pick up as many points as we can now and hope it's enough. So yeah, it's like I said, not the worst result in the world. It was more imperative, I think, to avoid defeat against Forest rather than imperative to win it. And it's a draw on the road at the end of the day against a side that are very good at home. So I guess if you look at it like that, not the worst result in the world. But comment below what you think. Give your ratings for each of the players that started. And what do you reckon? Do you think we should have beaten Forest? What decisions do you think maybe Dyche could have made that would have made that a more viable option? Comment below giving your thoughts. But yeah, that is all for today. Please leave a like if you enjoyed and subscribe to the Toffee Blues channel for more Everton content. And we will see you in the next video. Cheers.